20th of March 2025, the most important date in the history of women's sport. On 20th of March 2025, a new president of the International Olympic Committee is elected. The successful candidate holds the future of women's sport in their hands. Women's Rights Network visited IOC headquarters in Lausanne as part of our campaign, Safety and Fairness for Females.
It's the morning after, the day before, when we as Women's Rights Network members walked into the IOC headquarters here in lovely Lausanne, and we just really wanted to be here in person, didn't we? Because we felt that Paris 2024 and everything that happened there, it affected so many people worldwide, you know, and people were particularly upset about seeing male boxers punching women in the boxing ring. We just felt with these elections that are coming up on the 20th of March for a new IOC president, it was the right time to make sure that the IOC understood exactly how we felt.
Yeah, I agree. I think what the IOC have done over the past few years, they haven't realised how important they are in affecting all sport for women from grassroots upwards. And they have to take a lead. So far, the lead they've taken has been appalling. They have allowed international federations to do what they wanted instead of stating categorically that there should be no males of any kind in the female category. They have come up with a wishy-washy framework that has really started to destroy women's sport. And I think ordinary women coming and going into that building and showing our faces maybe will make them think. What do you think, Jeannie? Do you think it will have an impact?
I hope so. It was really good that they engaged with us.
Yeah.
Somebody from the media department came down and talked to us really for quite a long time. And there were definite signs that of an acknowledgement that there's a problem, and they're so motivated to try and sort that out. So I feel really hopeful.
Yeah.
And I hope that we get the next president takes this, considers this really the most important issue for the Olympics.
Yeah.
You can't talk about gender equity if you've got males competing as females in the Olympics. You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So,
We did have, someone from the media and communications department came and spoke to us for, a long time. And he listened.
He did listen.
He listened to what we were saying. We didn't agree what he was saying back.
Not entirely.
Not entirely, but and we've got a lot of work to do, I think, with the DSD athletes and really what it means.
Yeah, there's still a lot of misinformation and just misunderstanding about what's going on with DSDs, particularly at the very elite levels in the Olympics. So I think people need to be really honest about that and understand what's going on.
I think what was interesting yesterday, talking to the representative of the IOC, was that he was still calling males with differences of sexual development female, and we all know they are not female. The condition that these chaps have only affects males. You have to be male to have that condition. They are not female. So I think there's still considerable misunderstanding, maybe willful or not, about the conditions, and we have to just continue to educate people at all levels of sport that these people are male.
They're male. They're not female in their passport. Yeah. They may be female in their passport, but they're not female.
Yeah, and a piece of paper does not confer upon you the sex category of female. So we have to just completely annihilate that ridiculous statement.
And it isn't complicated. I think
It
was
isn't.
said at one point that this is a very complicated issue. It really isn't a complicated issue. Having something like a cheek swab would, be completely clear, something that an athlete would only need to do once in their life.
Yeah.
And that would completely clear up any of this.
Yes. Yes.
And it would be great for athletes. It's what female athletes want.
Yeah.
We know that.
It's interesting from the conversation yesterday, because we did talk about cheek swabs and how at Atlanta Olympics, every athlete in the female category had to do a sex verification test, which was a cheek swab. And when the female athletes were asked about this, they said they wanted cheek swabs because it confirmed that everybody was female and eligible for the category. And then the IOC completely ignored what the female athletes wanted and took away sex verification tests for Sydney. So IOC has got form on ignoring what women want, and I really think they've got to stop doing that and start listening.
Well, technology, I think, has moved on as well. It's a non-invasive test.
Yeah.
It can be done once in an athlete's lifetime at a point when it's appropriate and never needs to be done again.
Yeah.
It's got to be the way forward, and I think World Athletics have recognised that now. So it is really time.
Yeah.
And let's remember that all athletes at this level are all subject to WADA doping control testing, which is, very invasive.
Far more invasive than a cheek swab.
Yeah, it really is. So a cheek swab is trivial in comparison. And as we've already said, it's only once in a lifetime. So unlike doping testing, which is constant and random, it only needs to be done once.
We have some demands from the IOC before LA 28. One of them will be that there should be cheek swab tests and that the female category is entirely protected.
Yes. I think that is one of the main things. The female category has to be protected. So the current Olympic framework, which states there should be no presumed advantage of being male, that needs to be scrapped. I mean, that is a completely captured document by so-called gender scientists. Whoever is IOC president next week needs to scrap that on day one and just simply state, as World Athletics do, that the female category is only open to females and back it up with cheek swabs. If they do that by, at the latest, LA 28, if not the earliest by the Winter Olympics next year, then I think that we could say almost job done. What the IOC do filters down to grassroots.
Well, a lot of the NGBs have policies that are based on this is a 2015 document that the IOC produced, and that's all centred on testosterone levels. I mean, even with the new framework, some of the NGBs haven't changed that policy, and they're still relying on a testosterone level test for eligibility for the female
policies
category.
Just trickle down.
They trickle down. The
IOC really sets the standard.
They set the standard
for a lot of sports.
Yeah.
So the IOC needs to take a lead.
We need to take the lead.
And a lead that protects women. We're fed up with it.
Said that's almost everything, but I think that there are some real historical injustices.
Oh yes.
For example, from 2018 at the Rio Olympics, where the three 800 metre runners who were DSD athletes took gold, silver and bronze away from 3 female athletes, and I really feel that should be addressed.
And those female athletes have not had any of the kudos of winning medals. They've lost money, they've lost sponsorships, and actually been pilloried in the media for raising their voice and saying this isn't right. And I think that's one of the great injustices that has been made to women by the IOC guidelines. Absolutely shameful. And there are other historical injustices. I mean, we've had a lot to do with Sharon Davis and her brilliant book, Unfair Play. If anyone's read it, it's an absolutely excoriating analysis of IOC policies back in the 60s, 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And the story of Sharon is well known, that she missed out on gold because the East German who won gold had been doped on testosterone in state-sanctioned doping. Yeah. The IOC knew that.
Eastern women actually wanted to give back the medals that they won and for them to go to the rightful winners.
Yeah.
The IOC wasn't so
yeah.
It's a very strange. I find that a very strange decision. and they know exactly what happened, and yet they still won't address the unfairness.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's which I think that might be another demand that
I think
these things should really be addressed now.
Yeah.
With a new IOC president, it's something that you
Yeah.
really need to get hold of.
restoration of the rightful medals and the place in the history books. You can't restore their careers
No.
because that's been and gone, but you can restore the record books. I think that's one of the priorities personally,
Yeah.
as well as women's sport.
Women's sport and fairness in the female category from now on.
Yeah,
No more of this nonsense.
exactly. And thank you IOC for actually listening to us and not throwing us out the door the minute we turned up with our wooden spoon certificate for Thomas back.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
fingers crossed for the vote. What day is the vote?
The
When we find out the results?
for March the 20th in Greece, 4 p.m. Greek time, the voting starts. It's a knockout voting system. So whoever takes over will have to address this.
Yes.